Hello, welcome back here. We're going to talk about the journey today. What looks like a journey home, a journey back, what we call here in the world the spiritual path, in whatever outward form or forms that may take for you. Because, as I'm fond of saying here, there are many doors, there are many different spiritual traditions in the world. And here you are on the path. And here you are, even more than that, interested in A Course in Miracles. So let's talk about this. Let's also talk about the title of today's video, No More Hiding, because in this discussion of the journey and the path is an invitation to step out of the darkness and to stop our little game of hiding, because that is what it is. When we identify with the ego, as an individual self-sustaining survival unit, separate from all other individual self-sustaining survival units, in a slew of heated competition and pitched battle, attack in all its many forms, because you know your brother's going to get you if you don't lash out first. Preemptive strikes, worrying about things that never come, the daily grind, what passes for our life here in the world. As we worry about that, we hide. We're, in fact, running and hiding. We are. We're running and hiding from truth. We quite simply don't want it to be true when we identify as an individual separate from other individuals. When we side with the ego, we're hiding from reality. We're hiding from truth. We're covering our eyes. We're running into a dark room, shutting the blinds and turning off the light, and then running into a dark corner to hide, thinking no one will see us. But of course, we see ourselves, don't we? So again, as in the last video, it's not a very flattering analogy, is it? That we as adults, as would-be adults, grown-ups, many of us who have attained middle age or even beyond that, are still running and hiding like frightened little children. But that's what we do when we side with the ego. We're saying that we don't want truth to be true, yet it is true despite all of our denial of it, despite our running and hiding. Truth is true, and you are at home in God. Welcome back, right? Where you've always been, and you've never left. So, what we call the spiritual path only appears to be a journey. It only appears to be a walk or a trajectory or anything that seems to involve distance. There is no distance. You're at home in God, where you've always been. What we're doing is we're simply clearing the barriers to our awareness of this. We're not aware that we're at home in God when we're running and hiding in a dark corner, pretending to be an individual self-sustaining survival unit. We're simply unaware of that, and what we call the spiritual process, the spiritual path, is a matter of waking up, of removing the barriers, lifting the veil, so to speak. So how do we do that? Well, we choose the correct teacher. We choose our inner teacher instead of the ego. We're simply invited to choose the Holy Spirit. We're invited to choose Jesus. They're one and the same. We're invited to choose our inner teacher who knows the way and can guide us. So we're invited to join with him. Sounds simple, doesn't it? Yes, it is. It is simple. It's part of why we're so resistant to truth, is because it is so simple that we don't think it can be true. We're so accustomed to the myriad complexities in the world that we actually panic sometimes in the face of the disarming simplicity of truth. And if you're panicking right now, that's okay. I mean, it happens. Let's just from this point forward recognize what's happening so we can return our awareness to forgiveness of the Son of God, so we can return our awareness to the ideas in the workbook, so we can return our awareness to our relationship with our inner teacher who directs us every moment of every day, if we let him. Life can indeed be seen as a living, breathing, waking meditation where we get distracted. And when we notice that we're carried away by our social media feed, by all of the drama, by work, by everyone's constant demands on us, by our own constant demands of ourselves, just saying, all of that, when we notice that we're getting carried away, we bring our awareness back. Just like you would in a formal seated meditation where you return your awareness to the object of meditation, whether that be the breath or sound or the voice of a guide, a mantra, something that you're visualizing, something that you're actually looking at with the body's eyes, whatever. It's like that. Notice you get carried away, bring your awareness back. Ours is simply the journey back to God, who is our home. And we could choose the Holy Spirit as our guide, and we're invited to do that. We could choose Jesus as our guide. He is the Holy Spirit. He has gone first in time. There is no time, but he has accomplished the path, so to speak, and can show us the way. Who will we let him? He is the Holy Spirit. And of course he is. There is no separation of any kind. The Holy Spirit's part of your mind. What's going on right here when we appear to be in the world as a human being stuck in this body, so we think, completely erroneously, by the way, which I know you know. When we appear to be here, our mind is split. So we're invited to make up our mind. We're invited to change our mind and choose the Holy Spirit, the thought system of the Holy Spirit instead of the ego. We're invited to choose love instead of fear, light instead of dark, life instead of death. Yes, you can see it that way. Truth instead of illusion, however you wish to characterize that in words, whatever makes you feel comfortable, whatever floats your boat. That's the decision that we're making right now. And we're invited to choose yet again. We're invited to choose the strength of Christ. Do that today. And when you remember to do it again, do it again. Right? Connect with your inner teacher. When, not if, but when you experience fear, understand that that is the ego trying to intrude. You've chosen, well, I hope, your inner teacher as your guide, and you're going to have some moments along the way. That's the ego attempting to join in your journey home, and it cannot. And it is afraid. It senses defeat and becomes very angry and vindictive. Pay it no mind. It's nothing, and there is no separation of any kind. So, guess what does not exist? The ego does not exist. It is nothing. Our invitation here is to set it aside, and when you hear its frantic shrieks and vile insults, pay it no mind. Something very powerful. You could forgive it. Oh, yeah. What happens to the ego then? We acknowledge that it has never existed. Ideas leave not their source. You've never left your source, remember? We're at home in God. The extraordinary power of our decision for the Holy Spirit should, I hope, be evident to you. If it's not, it will be. When, I don't really know. That's largely up to you, isn't it? Because it's a choice that each of us gets to make in the present moment. So let's choose the proper teacher. Let's choose the proper companion and come out of the dark corner where we're hiding, curled up in a ball, thinking that no one can see us, and we're just going to sit here, and it's going to be safe and warm and comfortable. Only it's not safe because we're still eating ourselves. It's not warm because we're still eating ourselves, and it's not comfortable because we're still eating ourselves. That is what happens in our mind when we identify as an ego. You could have some beautiful, hot, sexy moments. You could have weeks or months or even decades of bliss, but it won't last. Even if you're fabulously wealthy in this lifetime, happiness is not constant just because you're fabulously wealthy, is it? You still experience the same psychodrama as the rest of us when you become enraged by something or someone. It is not the peace of God, which is deep down what we all want. It is what we all want. It is what has us on the spiritual path in the first place. The ego has absolutely no power to interfere in your journey home. None. It has no power to interfere. Why? It does not exist. The ego's way is not Jesus's way or the Holy Spirit's way, and it's not yours either. It is not our way. It is a simple mistake that we could choose to set aside. So, if you're newer to this material or brand new, again, welcome. Understand that these videos are for everyone, whether you have been practicing the material in this course for 30 plus years, or whether you've never practiced this material or even taken a look at it, it's still valid. You're still watching this. We're 15 minutes or so into this discussion, and you're still here for a reason. And if you're unsure what that is, ask your inner teacher what that reason is. Something has been said or will be said that will connect with you. That is your inner teacher speaking to you. So please listen. What happens when you begin to listen is you begin to experience all of this differently. The more you allow yourself to entertain the ideas presented in this course, such as the central teaching of this course, there is no world. Of course, there's not. We're at home in God. The world is a separation idea. Look at what it appears to be. It appears to be this spinning ball of rock, distinct, separate from other spinning balls of rock in this thing called a solar system, separate from other solar systems. There is no separation of any kind. Any separation device is illusion. So what do we do with this separation device? We give it over to our inner teacher for his use and purposes, for healing the mind. And just that. What happens? Well, you may notice yourself getting lighter. I don't mean that you're losing weight. It's no guarantee that when you pick up this course, you're going to lose a few kilos. Yeah, no, that's not the case. What I'm talking about is mental lightness. Things that used to bother you may no longer bother you anymore. You may look down one day and face a situation that years ago would have thrown you into a fit of rage, and you simply dismiss it now. It's nothing, because it is nothing. And recognizing this, you all of a sudden notice you're calmer. You're more relaxed and collected, more chill, more chill, more patient. You may notice that you're more loving, more forgiving, and you may notice that other people react to you differently. Of course they do. Because rather than teaching them separation, pain, bitterness, frustration, hostility, and fear, you're teaching them our essential oneness through your practice, through your extending love and the miracle of forgiveness to the Son of God. The Son of God recognizes himself in you. Your brother recognizes God in you. We recognize ourselves. And what happens? Well, we experience the world totally differently. What happens is we continue to do this until we've completely set the ego aside and we learn the goal of this course: to perceive truly, to see things as they really are. At that point, we can exchange dualistic perception for knowledge of God. Knowing God, you may refer to as enlightenment, full enlightenment, right? Awakening, whatever else you may choose to call that. Realizing God, it's called in some traditions here in the world. It's knowing God, and we must first learn to perceive truly. In other words, we learn to see things as they are. There is no separation of any kind. When we've learned to perceive truly under the guidance of our inner teacher, there's no more lesson to learn. We simply know God. It's said here in the course that God takes the final step himself. We're, in a manner of speaking, absorbed into him. We simply know him. And we've never left God. What appears to be a journey back is simply an awakening from a deep slumber. That's what it is. And this world that we see is a dream. So, no more hiding. That's our message for today. It's safe to get up off of the floor in the dark corner, uncurl ourselves, and stand upright and walk over to the light switch and flip it on. What happens to the darkness then? It's gone. It's as though it were never there. And guess what? It was not. All right. So I thank you, as always, for tuning in and for joining me here. Questions and comments are always most welcome. So if you've got them, please feel welcome to leave them. Part of my aim here is to create a space where we can discuss the path, this course, our spirituality. So if you have questions, please feel welcome to leave them. And if you have not subscribed yet, I invite you to please go ahead and do that. This is the subscription button. Go ahead and click that red arrow in the corner of your screen. We'd love to have you join us. These videos appear several times a week for the sake of consistency, because as stubborn adult learners, we do, in fact, need to hear the same ideas over and over again, presented maybe in a different way on a different day. Who knows when it's going to click for you? So we have several discussions a week. That, and we're going through the text of A Course in Miracles, which, if you haven't noticed, is several hundred pages long. It's 31 chapters. We're in the midst of chapter 8, which means a lot more to talk about. So until next time, thank you for joining me. I'll see you soon.